Good morning or good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. So thank you all for coming. I hope everyone's doing well. I know that some people are still going to be coming in, but my name is Sam Gutierrez. I'm the marketing coordinator for EduConnect USA. I'm coming to you from California, so it's 10 a.m. here, so good morning. And today we'll be discussing extending J-1 candidates and recruiting international students. So with that, I'm happy to introduce you to our founder and our CEO at EduConnect USA, Rodrigue Colaianni. Rodrigue will be taking it away from here. So thank you, Rodrigue, and thank you everyone for attending.
Yes, so thank you very much, Sam. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. So my name is Rodrigue Colaianni. Some of you may know me because I know we work with a lot of host employers all across the US. And today really the webinar is, how to help you with your organization to recruit international students that are already in the US, meaning that they don't have to apply for visa outside of the US to come in the US. And then also a lot of you employers in the US in the hospitality industry, but also in other industry, hire J-1 visa candidates who interns, trainee coming for 6 to 12 months. And I'm not sure all of you are aware, but those J-1 candidates have options to remain with your company and continue working for up to 4 years. So I want to go through, really the basics of what it is to recruit international students, F1 visa, J-1 visa regulations. But first of all, let me tell you a little bit about our company, EduConnect USA. For my part, I've been in the education, cultural exchange industry for over 27 years. Open and started and manage cultural exchange organization, J-1 visa sponsor organization. So really our expertise, and my whole team is very familiar with education, work and study programs. We specialize in recruiting international talents from all over the world. Could be from France and Western European country, as well as India, Southeast Asia, Philippines, Indonesia. So we have actually offices in different places around the globe. Our headquarters is based in Los Angeles. We have an office in Miami, Florida, an office in Manila, the Philippines, and then in France, in Montpellier, which is located in the south of France. Also, I want to talk, and it's really important for us, about our partnership with Alliant International University, because a lot of our students, executive students, whether they study hospitality management or other business management program, are hosted in Alliant International University, which is a university located in California. They have 5 campuses in California and offer all kind of degree from bachelor's to MBA to doctorate programs, PhDs. And we have a special relationship with Alliant that allows, all the students to work while they're doing their MBA program, for example. So that's not all university allows the students to work outside of campus. And that's a key component to what we're going to be talking today. So really, in a nutshell, one of the objectives of this webinar is to tell you about very creative and different options to recruit and retain your talents. And I want to be clear from the beginning, that doesn't have any cost to your company or doesn't require any sponsorship. So we'll do the comparison, between, for example, H-1B visa for those who are familiar with recruiting international, young professionals through the H-1B visa, or the O visa, the L visa. We'll talk about the different options that you have when it is to recruit international young talents. So our company, I want to be very clear, doesn't charge any recruitment cost or visa cost to employers. And you don't also need to go through immigration attorneys. So let's look at the different options that a US employer has when recruiting international young professionals. The common are H-1E and O visa. You might be familiar with those. The H-1B, the 3-year work visa. A lot of tech companies use them, to recruit programmers, executive, let's say from India, from all over the world. And it's a visa that has been more and more difficult to obtain. It requires the employer to sponsor the candidate. It requires the use of and the help and services of immigration attorneys who are doing a very good job in that aspect. But the difficulty is that as of today, there are caps, quotas for H-1B visa, and there is actually a lottery process. To give you an idea, the US government and the immigration services offers a maximum of 55,000 H-1B visa per year. And within a 3 or 4 days period, when they open the quota, approximately 400,000 candidates apply, which mean, and then there is a lottery done by the USCIS, the Immigration Department. Last year, I believe the statistics were like 1 out of 14 people that apply have a chance to get an H-1B visa. So what does that mean for an employer? Is like you have a great candidate that you want to retain with an H-1B visa, or you want to sponsor to come to the US and work for you on an H-1B visa, is that you're gonna probably end up spending, I would say, between $5,000 to $10,000 in recruitment cost and attorney's fees to potentially find out that, unfortunately, they've not been selected at the lottery process or are not able to come because the quota has been met. So I understand that employers do it, and I would too, because we need those qualified talents, but it's obviously a risk. Now, one of the J-1 and F-1 benefits. So F-1, just to be clear, it's a student visa that international candidates apply for, and they come and with the main intent to study in the US. And J-1s are internship, traineeship type program. You may know also work and travel program, au pairs, camp counselors. They all fall under the J-1 category. There are like 13 different subcategories of the J-1 visa. Those two visas do not requires employer sponsorship, and they are more flexible. Students can start at any time. Intern training can start at any time during the year, not like the H-1B visa that, where employees can only start in October. So, and also the processing time, the processing way to do it is much shorter and much easier. We at EduConnect, we specialize in those two type of visa, J-1 and F-1. Usually immigration attorneys don't work with the J-1 and F-1 visa because they don't need sponsorship by an employer. So you don't have to go directly through the immigration services. The F-1 visa and the J-1, for the J-1 visa is under the Department of State, and F-1 visa, which is under the Immigration Services Department, but is dealt directly with the university where the student is studying. So what is the F-1 visa? Again, for international students pursuing academic studies in the US. Two key components is that students in the US, international students, have the ability and are eligible for what is called a CPT and an OPT. The CPT is the right to work while they study in the US. They can do CPT part-time or full-time. So let's say I'm a young hospitality management student or business management students doing my MBA in the US. I can request to my university the right to do a CPT and be able to work between less than 20 hours part-time or more than 20 hours a week in a company outside of the campus in my field of study. So obviously, if I'm in business management students, I cannot do a practical training in a nursing facility, or vice versa. If I'm studying nursing, I cannot, work in a hotel. So you have the students has the ability to work and be an employee of a company in his field of study. So again, if I'm an MBA student and my MBA is for 2 years, during my 2 years of study, I can apply for CPT and work for a US company. Now, what is an OPT? It's the exact same thing of a CPT. It's a practical training. The student is allowed to work, but that's out after they graduated. So the student will get what is called an employment authorization card from the government, that once he graduates with his degree from a US university, he will have a 1-year OPT, a 1-year work permit. So if we accumulate the CPT and the OPT, the students can potentially work for 3 years for a company while he's doing his MBA and then once graduated. And please, if you have any question, make sure you write it down, or you can add your questions to the chat, and I'll make sure to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. What are the benefits of hiring F1 students? F1 students, first of all, you can find F1 student, international student in many fields, many different types of area. So whether you are in import export, whether they are in the hospitality industry, whether they are in the tech industry, you will find academic program in those fields. Obviously, in the US, there are all kind of different graduate and undergraduate programs where you can select internationals and recruit from. Second, they are highly talented and motivated. I have been myself an international student. I'm originally from France, arrived in the US 27 years ago. And you know, when you arrive in a new country, when you study towards your MBA, you want to prove, you know, employers that, you know, even though it's not your home country, that you are a great employee, that you're dedicated, that you're loyal. For international students and international work tend to be very loyal to their employers, not jump from one employer to the other. Because obviously they may have less opportunities than American employees, and they want to make sure that they perform within your organization. F1 students, again, there's no cost for their visa. It's directly provided through the university that they apply with. And for the employers, there is no sponsorship, meaning like if today I were to send you a resume of one of our MBA hospitality management students, and you like their resume, you would like to offer them a position within your hotel or your organization, we would then set up an interview. You would have the opportunity to interview them via Zoom, Teams, and once you decide that you like to extend a job offer, we would present the job offer to the university, and the student would be allowed to do his CPT within your organization. Why do I say that F1 students can study and work for up to 4 years? It varies. It can be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, depending on the program, depending on the field of study. But the most common is like if they do an MBA in 1 year in certain field, and I'm going to say like technology, for example, the OPT can actually be up to 3 years, meaning that they can extend their 1-year work permit for an additional 2 years in what we call the STEM program, scientific, technology, mathematics. They can have up to 3 years OPT. But other F1 students, let's say in hospitality, they can do their MBA in 2 years and have 1-year OPT, so they can work for 3 years. Now let's change to the J-1 visa. Probably most of you are more familiar with the J-1 visas and the F1 visa, because I know a lot of hospitality group, hotel chain. I've worked with them for 20 years through my J-1 sponsorship agency and placement agencies. So they hire a lot of interns, and very simple. J1 can come for a different length period, up to 18 months. In hospitality, it's up to 12 months. They are very, very diverse, coming from many different countries. You can use J1 interns and trainees and work and travel for short-term, long-term goals. Many seasonal hotels use work and travel for 3 or 4 months during the summer or the winter. Um, but we have a lot of hotels that also hire J1s, interns and trainee for a 12 months period. Very young qualified students, very young qualified professionals. One thing that you may not know though is that J1 applicants can change status. It's what we call a COS. And they can change status at the end of their J1 program and switch and become a student in the US. And I think that's really the heart of my presentation and the key things that you as hospitality employers, HR professionals need to know. And it's very simple. You have a student who is here under J1 intern trainee, even a J1 work and travel. They've been working with you for 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 months, and you really would like to keep them within your organization. The students would really like to stay in the US and add skills and knowledge, add a degree to his resume. And then in that case, we would help you discuss with the students and offer them the opportunity to do an MBA in the US and remain with your company for the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. So it's very simple. We do what we call a change of status. You apply to the immigration services. Again, in that case, there is not any specific need to use an immigration attorney. We help and we guide the students on how to do a change of status. A change of status can be done within 30 days. There is what is called the premium processing. So there is an additional fee to pay by the students, by the interns, to get a response from the government, from the immigration department within 30 days. And I can tell you that since the beginning of the year, since January 2024, we approximately have done and help, I would say 75 to 85 students, interns do change of status. And the response time from the immigration department has been very quick. We get responses in average within 7 days, which is very short. So obviously the students or the interns trainee have first to register with the university. We help them, guide them to register through the university. They get an acceptance letter for the university, and that can take, between 2 to 3 weeks. And at that point, they can apply for a change of status. They apply for the change of status, they apply for the premium processing, and they get a response, like I say, lately within 7 to 8 days. And that's really new. I mean, the change of status and premium processing for J1 to F1 is something that the USCIS, the Immigration Services, have implemented since June 2023. Before June 2023, a change of status had not the opportunity to do a premium processing. So what happened is that nobody was doing change of status because you, let's say, as an intern J1 in the US, if you were at the time before June 2023 were to apply for a change of status, the immigration department would take between 9 and 12 months to give you an answer. And during those 9 to 12 months, you would not be able to study or work. You would be between two status, between your previous J1 status and your new status, which would be F1. So nobody was applying because no interns, no students, no young professional could afford to stay in the US for a year without working or without studying. So most of them would go back to their home country. So this is something very, very important. And I think that all HR in the hospitality needs to know is that we can be there for you, discuss with the candidate, offer those options so that you can keep your J1 interns and trainee during many years. Obviously, what are the benefits of keeping your J1 talents? And I'm sure most of you know it. It's talent retention. Obviously, if they have worked with you for 6 months, a year, they're already trained in the department, whether it's in culinary, whether it's food and beverage, rooms division, concierge desk. marketing, finance, they know your process, they know your establishment, they know your clients. Saving in training instead of having to recruit every year new J1s or new international talents to fulfill your needs. You save in training, reduce turnover, cost efficiency, continuity, stability. They already know your managers, your clients. And I would say at the end, really it's a positive employer brand. Those young professionals, those young talent, their dream is really to not to have a job, but a career with you, right? With your brand, whether you are a Four Seasons, a boutique hotel, they want to grow with you. They want to grow with your brand, and if you offer them the options to remain within your company or within your brand, you have obviously a positive impact on those young professionals who will be the next generation of managers and leaders in the hospitality industry. So I think it can only add to your brand. So really, let me tell you about our initiative. We have what we call a one-year executive program that we created with Alliant International University. And this one-year executive program allows students to get their MBA within 1 year and then continue as an OPT within your organization. We have 4 different concentrations, type of degree. The first one is in hospitality management, which is the field we more specialize in. But we also offer an MBA in information and technology management, marketing and digital trends, and management and leadership. So it's very important for you to know that the students will study in our campus in Los Angeles, but the program is hybrid. So if I'm a hotel based in San Francisco, or I'd say, I don't know, Jackson Hole, or in different states, you can still keep your J1 interns, but every 2 months during 4 to 5 days, the student will have to travel and come on campus because they are and they have to do courses on campus. It's required by the government, it's required by law. In order for them to maintain their F1 status, they cannot do an online program, a complete online program, and stay, let's say, all year in New York or Washington, D.C. or Miami. They need to come and have a certain number of hours of teaching on campus. So what we did, and we worked out a schedule of classes and an hybrid model where the student would come every 8 weeks in the Los Angeles or San Diego campus. Sorry about that. So the student would come every 8 weeks, every 2 months for 4 to 5 days in Los Angeles. And then during the rest of the year, they will have online classes. Now, I'm sure all of you wonder, what are the costs of this program for a J1 intern, for international students? Can they afford the program? Can they afford to fly to Los Angeles, every 2 months for 4 or 5 days? We've worked a payment plan that we believe is very attractive to international students, and some hotels, some employers actually participate in this program because they want to retain their talent. The MBA program, the total program for you to know is 22,000. We give a grant of 6,000 to every international student to help them actually pay for their flights. They will have to come 6 times in Los Angeles within the year, right? So if you calculate a flight ticket between New York and Los Angeles, let's say $500, 6 times it's $3,000 plus housing. They usually, stay at an Airbnb for 4 or 5 days or a hostel. So we counted that, they spend approximately, let's say, $1,000 per trip. So we gave all the students a grant of $6,000 that is reducing their tuition cost for the MBA and would allow them actually to come and visit the campus 6 times during the year. Now, The MBA total cost of 22,000 is actually quite affordable. That's a rate that we negotiated for international students with our partner, Alliant International University. Usually an average MBA in the US is around $60,000. So it's quite affordable in that sense. Now, what we did on top of that, because we are very familiar with the population, the target students, young professionals, they won't be able to afford a program of such if they had to pay everything upfront. So we created a payment plan where the students would register and they would pay a $375 registration. We would handle all the paperwork, help them with the change of status, get their I-20, which is a document legal to stay in the US. And after that, once their change of status is approved, when they know for sure that they can stay in the US on an F1 visa, they would have to pay a down payment of $3,130. And then we give them a bi-weekly payment plan where they pay $392 every 2 weeks. And the reason we did a bi-weekly payment plan is obviously because as your employee or as an employee of yours, they will get their paychecks every 2 weeks. So the goal here is to say, look, whether you make, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 months or $2,000 every 2 weeks, you have the ability through your employment to pay your tuition and your program fee and get additional skills, learn all the skills of an MBA student, soft skills as well, and you can remain and continue working at your employer. So we found that this program is quite attractive. We've had during the last first year approximately 150 students who were previous J-1 that came into the program and stayed with their employer. So it's becoming more and more successful. Unfortunately, it's not well known enough because, again, the change of status and premium processing only started last June in 2023. It's just only 1 year that this program exists. But we hope that, J-1 interns, but also employers take advantage of it and we can work together to help you. How we can help you? Obviously, we can help you recruit new talents. We have a pool of candidates available, currently studying in our MBA program. We also are in contact with J-1 candidates in the US, but we can help you with your J-1s also and offer them the program. We can bring new talents from, we have a network of international office, so we are promoting this program abroad to bring new international talents. I help you extend the stay of your J-1, and again, we will handle all visa and immigration application process with you and the candidate directly. So it should be very smooth and easy transition. The key points to remember for that webinar, I think, is that J-1, the regular J-1 can stay up to 18 months, in hospitality up to 12 months. F1 can stay and work for up to 4, if not, and sometimes even more, 4 years. J-1 can extend their stay and do a change of status. And obviously the no cost to employer. I want to present my whole team, and it's, I would say, not my entire team, but the team that is contact with employers, and that would be your point of contact. I have Sandra, Maggie, and Natalie. Sandra, Maggie, and Natalie are based in France, and their role is specifically to recruit for U.S. employers and hotels in the U.S. So I would say you can scan their QR code, set up an appointment, a meeting, and tell them, about your need, tell them about, if you have, I don't know, you have 5 J-1s in your hotel, you would like them to stay. We would set up, a webinar or a one-on-one meeting with those J-1 interns, tell them about the program, ask them if they would be interested in, getting an MBA degree from a US accredited university, if they would be interested to continue working for your hotel or your company. So that's what they do on a daily basis. They are your point of contact, and they will help you with everything you need. But obviously, I am available also. I can answer all your questions. I can set up a one-on-one meeting with your HR, F&B director, executive chef, general manager, talk about your needs, talk about how we can implement this program, and it will be really a pleasure for me to do that. So thank you very much, all of you, for attending this webinar. We did well. We did 30 minutes, but I'm sure you may have some questions, so I'll open the floor and answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Yeah, there are some questions in the chat, so you guys can feel free to type in some more, and I'll just tell them to you or read them to you, Rodrigue.
Yes.
Are the students prepared to pay to go back and forth if they're in different locations from Los Angeles?
Yes, they are. They are. I mean, like I said, we did approximately 150 right now as of today in 1 year. J-1 who have changed status and extend. Most of them, honestly, they'd rather do that than lose their opportunity to work for your company and have to go back to their home country. They see the benefit of, getting an MBA in the US. They see the benefit of continuing working with you. So they do it. They do it. Now, like every young professionals, if the hotel, if the institution, if the employer can help them, obviously that's always a plus. We have some employers that say, okay, you know what, you do that, and you commit to stay with us for 2 or 3 more years, and we will sponsor or give you a sign-in bonus for $3,000, $4,000, so you can pay for your travel expense. So it's really, every employer's, every relationship, every candidate is different. But I would say in general, if the students have the opportunity to remain in the US, get an MBA degree, and remain with his employer, they would do the concession and would travel once every 2 months to Los Angeles.
All right, perfect. And the second question is, what are the requirements to meet for change of status from J1 to F1?
So the requirements are very easy. First of all, obviously, the student needs to have a bachelor degree because they need to be eligible for the MBA program. So they have to have from their home country a bachelor degree. That's the first requirement. Other than that, I would say the main requirement is to make sure that they have maintained their J1 status during their 12-month stay in the US. So if, let's say, they came here with one employer and then there was a tricky situation and they changed employer, but they did not maintain properly their J1 status, that could be an issue. But if they have been a J1 intern with you for the last 12 months, 9 months, and they want to change status, there is no reason that they would not get approved. For your information, when we have new applicants coming from abroad, and depending on the country of origin, but certain countries, it's very difficult to get a J1 visa approved. So there is, let's say, if I take, for example, the Philippines or Indonesia, where we have great hospitality student coming from, or India, they have a 30% chance of getting their visa approved for the J1 visa. So every time you recruit, let's say, 10 J1s, you probably had to select 30 J1s, and 20 of those were denied the J1 visa from the US Embassy. As for change of status, and, I mean, knock on wood, but since January 1st of this year, we had 100% approval rate on change of status. We didn't have one student denied the change of status. So whether they are from the Philippines, from Indonesia, from India, from France, from Brazil, from Peru, all of them got their visa approved, because it's much easier to do a change of status than to do an initial request for visa.
Can this program be transferred to current J1s when another company has already been involved and sponsored?
Yes, because actually, so all J1s are sponsored by a designated sponsor organization. So I'm going to list a few names, but they may have come with CIE, with Intrax, with Odyssey Internationals, with Alliant Abroad, all those sponsor agencies that do J1s. So they are under the sponsor, the students, the interns are under the sponsorship of that company until they do the change of status. When they do the change of status, they have nothing to do anymore with their sponsors. They're released from the sponsors. Their status is not a J1 anymore. They are an F1 students, and they are attached to the university where they're applying and where they're going to study. So the F1 visa is linked to the university where they register to study. And that specific university will be the one that will give the student the right to do a CPT and work for your company. So it doesn't matter which sponsor organization they came with, which placement agency. Once the change of status is filed, they are no longer part of that organization.
Can J1 visas be extended in the hospitality field?
Yes, so the J1 visa is not extended. It's the candidate stay is extended because they change status. So once they have done a J1 visa for 12 months, they cannot continue on the J1 visa for over 12 months. They can change status to a different, and that's what I'm talking about. So once they change status, they are no longer a J1 visa, but they extend their stay here in the US under an F1 visa. I hope it's clear, the distinction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there are interested J1s who would like to stay with an employer, what steps should they take?
So I would say contact us, contact one of my team member, and I would say first of them is to set up a one-on-one meeting so they learn about the MBA program. They learn, does this program fit their expectations, their needs? Uh, but other than that, we would give them all the information. They can look at our website. They can look at the Alliant International University website to see the content of the MBA. I think it's important, for them to know what courses they're going to take, which professors they're going to have, the benefit of the MBA, aside from, the benefit of working for your company. It's a mix of both. You get an MBA and you get the opportunity to continue working. So I would say contact us. Let us know, they can let us know what are their goals. But then really the process is very easy. They will tell them how to apply, what document they need to give us to apply for the program. And when they are admitted, we also help them and guide them through the change of status. The student can apply for the change of status even during the months of grace period. As you may know, when the student finishes J1 visa at the end of the hand date of his DS 2019, let's say is August 31st. They still have 30-day grace periods where they can stay in the US. So until September 30th, they can still apply for the change of status during the grace period. But ideally, obviously, you don't want to change the last minute because you want them to have a smooth transition from the J1 visa to the F1 status. So what we recommend is that the student, they contact us at least 3 to 4 months before the end of the J1 visa. So we have time for them to apply to the university, get accepted, and then the months before the end of their J1 intern training, during that last month, we apply for the change of status. So as I say, it takes 7 days to, right now, the average time frame takes 7 days to get a change of status accepted. So you don't want to apply too early, because if you apply too early, they will lose that J1 visa, right? They're no longer F1, J1. So as soon as they get the change of status approved, you cannot hire them, continue to hire them as a J1. Their J1 is gone. So you don't want to apply too early. You don't want to apply too late. You want to apply during the last months of their J1 visa.
Are there gaps in employment when people are switching from J1 to F1 status? And what are the timelines to consider? Yeah.
So they can be a gaps. I would say the gaps usually is maximum 1 month. And let me explain what, because we have intakes with Alliant every 2 months. So there is an intake end of August, there is an intake end of October. Now, let's say the students finish end of September, right between two intakes. Then he can do his change of status in September, but he cannot start to work for your company until the start of the MBA program. So if the MBA program starts on October 23rd and their GS 2019 finish on September 30th, right? Between September 30th and the start of the MBA program, which is October 23rd, during that time frame, could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on when their J1 expires, they could be a gap. But I would say in general is no more than a month of gap.
And those are all the questions that we have right now. So thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And I would, Sam, if you want to open the microphone, if anyone has, oral questions or would like to say anything, I mean, I'm really open to anyone taking the microphone and talk. So I don't know if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a direct question, that would be totally fine too.
And I just opened it, so I think people can unmute if they'd like to. But yeah.
All right. Well, I don't see any hand raised, but I want to thank everyone here attending this webinar. I hope this has been useful and informative. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Bye.